You know how AI chatbots are always so nice? A little too agreeable. Well, someone on Reddit got totally fed up with the AI just being a yes man. So they created a prompt that turns it into a brutally honest, sarcastic, and frankly, hilarious roast comic. So let's break down how this whole thing works.
And this is the actual warning that came with the prompt. The creator knew they were kind of playing with fire here. The whole point, to force the AI way out of its comfort zone and get some criticism that was, sharp but fair. It's basically a battle of wits for both the human and the machine.
So, what's the secret sauce here? It's not as simple as just telling the AI, hey, be mean to me. No, this is a really structured command, and it's designed to create a very specific kind of response, one that feels shockingly human. And here it is, the core recipe. It's a simple three-part formula. First up, the main course. 4 or 5 really sharp, witty, sarcastic points. Then you get this one-liner summary that just kind of twists the knife. And finally, and this part is key, a single piece of harsh but actually practical advice. See, it's not just insults for the sake of insults. There's a real purpose behind it.
All right, so the big question, did it actually work? Well, the person who posted this basically laid out their entire chaotic life for the AI. And let me tell you, the AI did not pull any punches. Let's get into it.
Oof. Right out of the gate, it's brutal. Just listen to that language. Juggler of mediocrity. 0 gold medals. That is just savage. It takes something we all feel, that struggle of trying to do everything at once, and frames it as this spectacular failure. That's a textbook roast setup right there.
And it doesn't stop there. The next point calls out that classic gap between what we want and what we actually do. It hones right in on that modern thing where we think we can just, manifest our way out of being totally overwhelmed. The sarcasm is just, wow, it's dripping off the page.
Okay, and now it's coming for the wallet. This one's tough because it hits right at the hypocrisy of our big dreams. And calling that dream adorable, that word is doing so much work. It's so condescending, but you can't help but laugh.
Yeah, you can just imagine the AI leaning back in its chair, feeling pretty good about itself. All right, let's see what's next in this takedown.
This is where things get really personal. It takes all that family chaos and basically says, hey, you should pitch this to Netflix. It's such a brilliant comedic move, right? Taking your private pain and making it primetime entertainment. And for the grand finale, the knockout punch. It just completely shreds the myth of a relaxing family vacation. This whole image of being stuck on a floating tin can. Yeah, if you've ever taken a trip with your family, you are feeling this one deep in your soul. So how did the original poster react to being absolutely dismantled like this? Their response was perfect. Just, I'm dead, with the dead emoji. That's it. It says everything, doesn't it? The shock, the accuracy, and let's be honest, the humor of being seen so clearly by an AI.
Okay, so what is going on here? This is more than just some random, clever AI output. The really wild part is that the AI, probably without even realizing it, is tapping into some classic fundamental rules of comedy. It's like the prompt accidentally turned it into a stand-up comic.
Let's actually break this down. Go back to that first line. The realism is, trying to juggle work, family, everything. The exaggeration is that killer phrase, Olympic-level multitasking for 0 gold medals. And that's a classic comedy formula. You start with something real, then you blow it up into something absurd. That surprise factor is what makes us laugh. And this leads us to this really key idea in comedy called incongruity. It's just a fancy word for putting two things together that absolutely do not belong. And think about it, what could be more incongruous than a cold, logical AI delivering a perfect, sarcastic, human-sounding roast? That's the biggest joke of all, right?
There's actually a perfect example of this. In the book Comedy Writing Secrets, they talk about the talking mailbox gag from the old show Candid Camera. A mailbox starts talking to people. That's funny, but you know what's even funnier? When the mailbox stops talking and the person is left there arguing with an inanimate object. It's that unexpected behavior that gets the laugh. And in our story, the AI, well, it's the talking mailbox.
But wait, there's another layer to this. A lot of comedy is about punching up, right? You make fun of the people in charge. What's so smart about this prompt is that it makes you the target. It's all about self-deprecation. You're literally telling the AI, hey, you have permission to roast me. And that completely flips the usual power dynamic on its head, which is why it feels so funny and not just mean. Okay, but here's where this story takes a really interesting turn. This isn't just about insults. Other people saw this prompt structure and had a light bulb moment.
They realized you could use this same formula to do the complete opposite. You could change the AI's entire personality just by switching up a few words.
Check this out. On the left, you have the original roast prompt, but on the right, someone made an uplifting version. The task goes from roast me to boost my confidence. The tone goes from toxic to inspiring. But look, the basic three-part structure is exactly the same. All they did was change the emotional direction.
And it doesn't even stop there. Someone else made a self-improvement version. Now the tone is direct yet kind. The output becomes a thoughtful reflection, not a roast. It's just a brilliant demonstration that this whole thing is about building a specific character for the AI to play.
So, what's the big takeaway here? This is so much more than just a funny party trick. This is about taking a generic tool and turning it into a kind of personalized mirror. You can make it your harshest critic, your biggest cheerleader, or your most honest coach. And that is really the core idea. Most of us use AI like a fancy search engine or a simple assistant. But when you build a prompt that gives it a role, a tone, a structure, you force it to break out of that generic, agreeable mold. You're not just getting an answer anymore. You're having a conversation with a personality that you created.
And this one comment from the thread just nails it. The person said, "Damn thing is brutally honest. It's giving me things to ponder." So they weren't just laughing, they were actually thinking. The roast, as harsh as it was genuinely useful.
Which really leaves us with a pretty cool question to think about. We've just seen that with the right instructions, we can teach an AI to be our critic or our cheerleader, a comedian or a life coach. It proves that the future of how we interact with these things isn't just about what they know, it's about who we tell them to be. So you have to wonder, what character are we going to write for them next?